Hello, everyone. Finally, we meet again, and today it's our third session from the course Knowledge of Time with the Padma Vajra from Nepal. So today we have the third meeting when we are getting the knowledge from our teacher and from our master. The Padma will now start because just right now he was telling us about that today it's a special date. So our today's session, our today meeting, our today channel and the video are going also to get some important and new information about the day that is now. We're going to start our session, just connecting the master. So,
Right.
welcome, Padma, and we're ready to start and to hear about which date we choose as the third, our last session, introductional session for our course that people can get deeper to the knowledge. So tell us, we're ready to start, and it's very interesting to know which date today.
So first of all, hello to you, Alina, and hello everyone who's watching this seminar. And thank you so much for your precious time, and thank you for your interest in this series. So, as I've already mentioned about myself and the lineage I represent in the previous seminars, so today in our tradition is a very important day. It's connected with the founder of our tradition, Guru Rinpoche or Guru Padmasambhava in Sanskrit. So since we already announced the Nepal pilgrimage in our last seminar, so I would also like to add more to that, how that's connected with Guru Padmasambhava and Guru Rinpoche. So those of you who would be interested in coming to Nepal to join our magical, very profound, deep pilgrimage, I would like to inform that Guru Padmasambhava or Guru Rinpoche, it's the same name. So Padmasambhava is the name in Sanskrit, Rinpoche is in Tibetan language. So this incredible being will play a huge role in our pilgrimage. Um, of course, the main thing is that he is the founder of the lineage that I follow, the lineage of the Tantric Buddhist yogis. And moreover, in every sacred place of Kathmandu, all over Nepal, there is almost no place where Guru Padmasambhava did not bless with his practices, with his mystical abilities, with his powers. And because of him, many of the places they were able to get these deeper, profound Buddhist teachings, which have now spread all across the world. So Guru Padmasambhava was a very, very, very special being, and in fact, he continues to be so because his life and legacy is still being followed in our tradition. And so, in the Tibetan system, in the Tibetan Buddhist system, um, we follow the lunar calendar. And in the lunar calendar, different days or different dates have their own significance. So today is the 10th day, which is very interesting that in the last 2 months, I'm noticing that both Gregorian and lunar calendar have the same dates. Very interesting. So today is also day number 10 in Gregorian as well as lunar calendar. Very fascinating. I don't remember seeing this in a long time. So I think it's also very special astrological conjunctions overall. So anyhow, in the Tibetan Buddhist
Can
system,
I just comment it because I never heard about it. It's such amazing period because it means
yeah,
that finally the points and the dots between, for example, your knowledge, your calendar, like your philosophy, your land, and like the other type of the world, they're going more together because the people have the same requests. People have the same request for,
yeah,
we were telling all the time, for the calmness, for the everything. So it's very interesting that I also don't
yeah,
remember when they will be the same. So maybe this time
yeah.
is the best time for all this connecting or reconnecting people through the journey, through the knowledge that we give. So through all of this. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I started noticing this around last month and I was amazed, and it still continues. So I think you have a valid point that it might perhaps signal this important shift in people's consciousness that in the Western world, in your world, people are getting more and more hungrier for authentic spiritual knowledge. And well, I mean, I don't want to make any bold claims, but it's true that most of the sacred wisdom is preserved in the East, right? So we still, despite the modern times and despite the challenges and difficulties it brings, still we are very lucky in this part of the world to have very ancient traditions still continuing till date, you know. So I think this is quite important, and this could also, perhaps be a good sign for what we are trying to accomplish in a way to, help people, help your students, help people in the West in general, right? Like connect deeper with their inner consciousness by connecting. Of course, I mean, on an outer level, it's a system, but the system offers what you already have. It's all about one's perception. When you connect with the system, it will show you a structure, because structure is important. We spoke a lot about that in our last seminar, and structure and spiritual path, structure in our normal life. That's very important. Otherwise, our life will become chaotic. But through that structure, the more we practice, the more we connect to the energies that we're working with, we discovered that we unravel more of our own innate wisdom. We will realize that that was inside us all the time. We are basically like activating it. It's an activation process, so to speak. So this is basically how the Eastern mystical traditions work, especially Tantric Buddhist teachings. So coming back to the dates, 10th day in every lunar calendar is connected to the male energy. Now, the male energy is signified by the guru. So in our tradition, in our parampara, the Nyingma parampara, we perceive this day connected to Guru Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche. Some other traditions, for example, the Dalai Lama school or some other schools, they will have their own way of looking at it, but still the commonly accepted theme is that day 10 is the male energy. Then similarly, there are different other dates, like for example, just day before yesterday was day 8, that's connected with the Tara, and day 15 is connected with full moon, that's full moon, which is uh, Buddha Amitabha, and so on and so forth. So basically, every month in the Tibetan lunar calendar, there are sacred dates in which practitioners um, either gather together in communities. They can be monks, or they can be yogis like me, or they can be lay practitioners, and they can do different rituals, different ceremonies, different meditations to connect with these energies, to connect with this particular vibration. And so it's a very special time. So it's believed that on such days, whatever activities we do, the results will increase multiple times. So if we are engaged in positive, virtuous actions on days like this, it means that the results of that will be amplified. We'll get much more result in our spiritual path. And also, on the other hand, if we engage in negative actions, then the result of those negative actions too will be much more severe. So it's a very special, like energetic field, if I can say that in more Western terminology. So it's very interesting, Alina, that even though we didn't really plan it in this way, but the last seminar of the introduction, in which I was anyway going to talk about Tantra and Vajrayana Buddhism, it happens on Guru Padmasambhava Day. So it's a very special connection, I feel. It's not a coincidence. Yeah. So in fact, even myself today, from very early in the morning, 7:30 till 5, I was in a very long whole day ceremony, working with different tantric practitioners like myself, and coming together, gathering together, and engaging in very deep and profound practices. So every place in Nepal on these days is brimming with sacred energy. You go to a sacred site, you will see different monasteries or even people's homes, practitioners, they're all gathering together. There are different ritual ceremonies happening everywhere. So the energy is even more special because, of course, these things happen here on a daily basis. It's a part and parcel of our life. but on these special days, the effect and the power increases way more. So it's like even just by witnessing any such ceremony can be of very deep impact. So that's the significance of the day today. People the first first the foundation paths, the Theravada path, the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path. In the second seminar, I spoke vehicle, which works with the bodhicitta, compassion. Now we arrive at Vajrayana, Tantric Buddhism. So, of course, while talking about that, I will talk about Guru Padmasambhava as well, because he's said to have founded Tantric Buddhism in Tibet and, of course, all across Himalayas, Bhutan, and many other Himalayan regions which are part of Nepal now. So, about Guru Padmasambhava, firstly, who was he and why was he so special? So it is believed that Guru Padmasambhava, he was an Indian tantric yogi who was active sometime between 7th to 8th century CE, Common Era, Anno Domini. So he is said to have visited Tibet also around the 8th century. And that's when it is believed that he established the Buddhist teachings in Tibet. Prior to his arrival in Tibet, there was one more king approximately 2 centuries earlier who made an attempt to establish Buddhism. He was somewhat successful, but he wasn't able to spread the Buddhist teachings far and wide. So 2 centuries later, a very important king in Tibetan history, his name is Trisong Dutsen. He had a great wish to establish Buddhist teachings in his country. Now, why was that case? Why was that so? Because it is said that in Tibet, for many centuries, for many generations, people practiced a very primitive form of animistic religion, wherein they offered animal sacrifices and they would invoke spirits of the nature. So there was like a lot of black magic. So it was like paganism. So I'm not saying that everything about that was bad, but it was mainly like a pagan tradition. So at that time, um, this king, this great king, Trisong Dutsen, he was aware of India. So just to give a historical context, because maybe some people are not aware who will listen to this lecture, history is very important when I talk about the spread of Tantra. So in India, by that time, the Buddhist teachings and the Tantric Buddhist teachings had already been flourishing. So India at that time was a very rich nation, rich, of course, economically speaking, spiritually speaking, and even a lot of great scholars from China, from other Southeast Asian nations, they used to come to India to study, to get their higher education. And at that time, the world's first ever university was already established, which is again in India. It's called Nalanda. It's in East India. It's not very far away from where I was born. And it is believed that at its peak, Nalanda University had 10,000 students back in that time. So it was massive. And they were students from Asia and different parts of that region. And they would study not only Buddhism, but there was astronomy, astrology, mathematics, Ayurveda, different subjects were taught in this particular university. But at a later time, it was mostly well known for being the most important and most prestigious Buddhist university in not only India, but that entire region in Southeast Asia. Like there was no university or no institute that could compare with Nalanda. So the king of Tibet at that time in the 8th century, he was also well aware of what was happening in India. And his deep wish to get those profound Buddhist teachings in his country so that his own people can benefit, because he saw that people are mostly engaged in just animistic practices like spirit worship or nature worship, but it was not leading them to higher awakening, not leading them to a higher consciousness, right? So then, with that wish, this king, he wanted to invite great masters from the same university I mentioned. So at that time, in the 8th century, beginning of the 8th century, so Nalanda had a very interesting concept. Um, it had different abbots, like head of the monasteries, and it also had different gates. So there were like 4 different gates of Nalanda in 4 different directions, and each gate was guarded by a very high scholar of that university. So if anybody who wants to get admission to this university, they have to be, um, so they will be questioned by one of these gatekeepers. So if you go to the Eastern Gate, a very high level scholar will wait for you at the Eastern Gate and you have to answer their questions. And if you cannot answer their questions, you cannot get permission to study in the university. But if successfully able to answer their questions, then you can get admission. And it was very easy to get inside this university because it was only preserved for the most brilliant minds of that time. So the king of Tibet at that time invited the main head of this university. So you can imagine that how much knowledge this man would have had, how much intelligence he would have had. He was like the main head, the abbot of this university. And there was no person more learned than him. Then he was invited to go to Tibet. His name was Shanta Rakshata, meaning the peacekeeper in English, the one who keeps the peace. So he was invited to Tibet in the 8th century. So when he reached Tibet, he wanted to help the king of Tibet build the very first Buddhist monastery in Tibet. However, because the local people, the local magicians or the animistic worshippers, they got extremely jealous and they also got scared. They thought that, well, looks like our king has invited a foreigner to our country. Maybe we will lose our power. What to do? We cannot let this happen. So they started doing a lot of black magic. And due to that black magic, they would create many difficulties in making this first monastery. So the legends say that when the monastery will be built in the daytime, um, the spirits, the spirits that were hired by these black magicians, they will destroy it in the night. So they will build the monastery in the daytime, and then the spirits will come in the nighttime and destroy the monastery. And again, they have to start, and again, and again. So it was getting a very frustrating project. And the king was also feeling, looks like my project may not work out. I'm ready to do. Then, well, teachings, but you need very special book work with, who can destroy black magic. So you have to invite someone special because even though I am learned, I don't have such powers. So you have to call a mystical Buddhist practitioner, not just a scholar. So at that time, history changed because Shanta Rakshata basically invited Guru Padmasambhava. So he gave his name as a suggestion to the king of Tibet. And the king of Tibet, of course, even by hearing his name, he had lots of devotion and he felt that, yeah, perhaps this could work. And maybe we need to invite Guru Padmasambhava here. So now how this story is linked even with Nepal is very fascinating. So it is said that Guru Padmasambhava, so he was not a monk, he was a wandering ascetic, he was a yogi, he was a tantric yogi, he was a mystical adept, and there are many like miraculous stories about his life. According to the Tibetan legends, it is believed that he was not
Padma, I'm sorry
born.
to
So
disturb.
there are
I
two
just
different legends. One legend
can I
believes
just
that he was
you hear
not
me?
an ordinary person to begin with.
I just wanted to ask, we know because we had a talk with you before, but I would love to ask for the YouTube people who are going to watch, can you try to give one more time the idea? Which is the different? Who is the monk and who is the yogi? Like,
Yeah,
which is the difference this? Because
I
people
will
hear
explain
it all
that.
the time and they think they understand, but it would be
Yeah.
very useful. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. So that's exactly the point I'm going to elaborate now. So, monk and a yogi, the difference is that yogis like myself, so we have a different ordination. So monastics, they have to go through, so in a simple way to understand that is that monks make a lot of outer renunciation there. So they cannot have kids, they cannot marry, and they have to renounce possessions and stuff like that. And they have to be like extremely simple, extremely ascetic, right? But for the yogis like myself, the main work is not outside, the main work is inside. So, meaning that we are working with our internal energies, our chakras, our internal energy points, according to tantric understanding. So, this does not require much outer renunciation. So, that's why, yogis can have women, they can marry, they can have kids, they can even do ordinary jobs sometimes if it's not conflicting with their practice. So the main thing is that they have to focus more on the internal renunciation versus the external renunciation. Internal renunciation means renouncing negativities of the mind, negative thinking, negative qualities, renouncing uh, attachment. And the main difference here is that yogis, tantric yogis, they work mainly with the practices of in nature. So we are healers, we are magicians, So we are, of course, practicing the ultimate teachings of Tantric Buddhism, of course, but we specialize in the healing arts, you know. So tantric yogis can be also focused on medicine. They, for example, when you guys come to Nepal, you will meet my who is also a tantric healer, which I'm doing it. Tantric yogis can also we can be so. Of course, this is the part I just wanted to explain. Even I might go a little off the track here. So they will, when after things were established, some anti-Buddhist kings came and they started destroying the monasteries. They were unhappy with Buddhism. And at that time, it's only because of tantric yogis that Buddhism was saved in Tibet. Because tantric yogis don't belong to an institution. They don't have to go to a monastery. They can even remain hidden. They don't even have to wear any religious clothing, and they can practice in secret, and they can continue to preserve the tradition. So it is believed that if the tantric yogis were not there, Buddhism could have vanished in Tibet as well. So that is the special factor for our path, that we are mainly trying to integrate with all of life, not about excluding things, like living in the experience of life. So if I talk about myself, I mean, I am not from a traditional Buddhist family. I was not born in a family of monks and nuns. I came from a materialistic family in India, and I was a journalist and I saw all those aspects of my life before I came into these teachings. So what it means is that this gives someone like me an opportunity to incorporate all experiences of life in the practice. So this is where some monks can have limitations because their life is more restricted to the monastery. So they get, of course, their philosophical education, and they will practice what's written in the books. But yogis go beyond the book. Like we have to really understand all experiences in life. Integration. Of course, we are also focusing on the traditional practice, no doubts about that. But the traditional practice is one thing, and integration with all aspects of life is other. So, in short, that's the main difference between the mystical yogic path and the monastic path. So, it's less institutional involvement. We don't really care about political involvement as well. So it's less to do with structured hierarchy. It's less to do with organized religion in a way. So how we can embody the teachings beyond the book? How can we embody the teachings in ways that we can benefit anyone, people who don't even know about Buddhism, which is what I'm trying to do, helping Westerners who are interested, and maybe they come from psychology background like yourself, or any other background, and they are looking for a deeper meaning in life. They're wanting to connect with their own higher consciousness. So how can someone like me reach out to such people? Then of course I have to go beyond the book. I have to go beyond the institution. So this is the speciality of the yogic path, that we can choose any method to give teachings. We can use life examples, we can connect with symbols, we can connect with different energies, but it will all point in the same direction. The language may not be bookish, the language may not be scholastic, but it does the job. Whereas in a monastic system, they are more focused on the structure. What is the book saying? They typically don't go beyond the bookish language. Now, there are some monks who can also be yogis, meaning that they still have their monastic vows, but then they can also leave the monastery and they can go to jungles or different places, and they can wander in pilgrimage sites, and they can just practice meditation there. So their vows are still monastic, but they're not part of the institution. So that's also possible. So for a genuine yogi, it is not important to have some big monastery or some hierarchy in life. The main thing is, like, every aspect of life is practice. Every experience of life, how we can bring it to our understanding. So that's an explanation. Now, coming to Guru Padmasambhava himself, so he was very special. So some accounts tell us that Guru Padmasambhava was not an ordinary human being. He was a Buddha from the very beginning. So he was an emanation. He was an emanation of very high level energies who was sent to our world. So he came at the time where Kali Yuga, the dark age, had already started. So it was time to have a very specific Buddha emanation who can work with the energy of this time. So previously we had Shakyamuni Buddha, and he was at a different time, right? So his time was, there was still more basic goodness in humanity. There was still more good activities, good virtues, people were still there. Now, even at the time of Guru Padmasambhava, it is believed that people's positive qualities had started declining and more negative energies had started increasing. So it was you could say, an idea, a mission, a plan of the Buddhas to send a Buddha emanation on the planet to save the people from these difficulties. So it is believed that he was not born. This is one legend. One legend says that he was not born from a human's womb, but he was born on a lotus, which is all very symbolic. So lotus in Buddhism plays a very important role. So even the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, um, Padme is lotus. My name, Padma, Pema, is also lotus. So why lotus is so important in Buddhism, especially in Vajrayana Buddhism, is that lotus, if you look at it, lotus is one flower that grows in mud, right? But it's not stained by the mud. So we have a saying that if there is no mud, there is no lotus, meaning that from this samsara's difficulties and sufferings can arise true peace, true liberation. So this is a very beautiful metaphor, like an alchemical reference. So when they say that Guru Padmasambhava was born from a lotus, symbolically it may refer to the fact that Buddhas are born from this wisdom, this non-dual wisdom, right? So then Guru Padmasambhava, he was born on a lotus flower, and another legend says that he was born from a human womb. In any case, both stories tell us that he also, just like Shakyamuni Buddha, he led a princely life in the beginning. So, a king, if I talk about the lotus flower legend, so he was discovered by a king who did not have a child, and he discovered this incredible, miraculously born child, and he was made the adopted prince of this king's kingdom. But because Guru Padmasambhava had his own mission, so he did not want to stay in the palace for too long. So he made a lot of efforts to get out from the palace. So there are lots of parallels between Guru Padmasambhava's life and also Shakyamuni Buddha. But the way of practice is different. So it is said that Guru Padmasambhava, because he was a tantric Buddha, so he was working more on tantric energy. So then when he left the palace, it is said that he went to very difficult places to meditate, like cremation grounds, where lots of very difficult energies reside, you know. So in the ancient India, cremation grounds were always considered, for the ordinary people, they were always very dangerous places because people believe that spirits and demons and all kinds of different negative energies reside in these kind of cremation grounds. But for the mystical adept, the cremation ground was the most powerful place to meditate, because this is the place where all our fears, you know, our fear of death, fear of ghosts, or all our psychological fears, they increase, you know. So it's a very good place for a mystical adept to practice, because then they can see how all of that is basically still the projection of the mind. So in many ancient Indian legends, in Tantric Buddhist legends, we will always hear about cremation grounds. So Guru Padmasambhava, when he left his palace, he also is said to have meditated in a very difficult, very dangerous cremation ground. And there, through his own magical powers, it's believed that he brought all the local spirits, all the worldly spirits and the demons under control, and he transform their negative minds into positive. So this story demonstrates a very particular quality about Guru Padmasambhava and the Tantric adept, which is different from the outer form of Buddhism. So the Tantric Buddhist adepts, the powerful Tantric practitioners, they work for the welfare of beings, of course, and they can also have a specific skill and expertise in controlling or pacifying negative energies, you know, like spirits or demonic forces that harm you or that harm others, or particular energies that especially want to interfere in high spiritual practice, right? And so Guru Padmasambhava was a specialist in this practice. So through his own abilities, through his own magical powers, he controlled many such negative demonic forces in India. And then he came to Nepal. So he came to Nepal before he went to Tibet. So nowadays, when people think about the Himalayas, they always think about Himalayas as something very holy, something really like beyond our imagination, which is true. But it was not always the case. Back in that time, many parts of Himalayas were infested by such black magic spirits, you know. So there were many animistic practitioners, many shamans who were working with such energies, and like cannibalistic spirits and devilish energies were here. So it is said that when Guru Padmasambhava came to Nepal in like specific places, he had to also work with such energies. So there is a particular cave called the Asura cave that is on the outskirts of Kathmandu. It takes around 45 minutes to reach there from Kathmandu. So Guru Padmasambhava meditated in that particular cave before he went to Tibet. And at that time, the local energies, the local demonic forces, they started creating lots of obstacles for Guru Padmasambhava, because they realized that if he will be successful in his meditation, then they will lose their power, that they will not be able to influence people, they will not be able to create harm to others. So to stop Guru Padmasambhava, it is said, the texts say that they created many years of drought, no rain, and they stopped the natural cycle, and they created lots of disturbances in the outer elements. So at that time, Guru Padmasambhava then practiced some very specific advanced tantric rituals to control and pacify those demonic energies. So this is a very unique highlight of the tantric path, wherein the tantric adept utilizes very specific methods to deal not only with the inner, but also the outer negative forces, you know. So in the Tibetan understanding and the Tibetan Buddhist understanding, there are different types, like there are different classifications of such like spirit energies. There are different types of like um, spirits, you know, who have their own classification, their own power, what they do, and why they come from, where they come from, so on and so forth. Because as I said, like in Tibet, before the arrival of Buddhism and in Himalayas too, mostly it was these energies, you know, different types of spirits or demonic energies, if you want to call them, you know, according to their own capacity, whatever they could do. So those energies were active before Guru Padmasambhava went there. The interesting thing in Tantric Buddhism is that through the power of mantra and meditations and rituals, skillful masters like Guru Padmasambhava, they can control and pacify such energies. But the main point here is to transform their negativity into positivity. So it's a transformational process because such masters, they understand that these beings who are creating harm to others, it's also because of their karma. They're also sentient beings, that they are ignorant. They are also following their difficult emotions, right? So they don't have control over that. So in such cases, Guru Padmasambhava and similar mystical adepts, they become like a wrathful mother, you know, who is trying to discipline their naughty child, right? So sometimes the mother will even like say some bad words to the child or slap or whatever, right? Just to control the child from not doing something very negative, right? So tantric energies work in the same way. So Guru Padmasambhava, at that time when such negative energies were affecting him and they were trying to stop his practice, he chose such wrathful compassion. So he practiced some very advanced level tantric meditations, and then he pacified and he controlled those spirits. And then he made a command, he gave an order to those spirits that from now on, I give you a new oath that you will not harm people, but from now on, you will protect the Buddhist teachings. And also, you will protect the Buddhist practitioners, not only now, but in all times to come. So he gave them a command. So through his practices, through his mystical powers, he controlled them and he changed their minds from negative to positive. So this is a very significant event because this is after which he went to Tibet. So if he hadn't established um, this region in Nepal as very sacred, then even establishing Buddhist teachings in Tibet would be difficult. So the reason I shared this story is to demonstrate that how Nepal and Tibet are actually connected, because many great Tibetan masters first came to Nepal to study, and then they went back to Tibet. So without Nepal, there would be no Tibetan Buddhism, actually. So Guru Padmasambhava first had to come to Nepal, and from here, he had to go to Tibet. So that's why even now, even after all those thousands of years, all Tibetan practitioners, all Tibetan followers believe that this cave that I just mentioned is the most holy site for them. They come here for pilgrimage. We will also go there for pilgrimage. Whoever will come with Alina and Urate next year, it's a magical site. Like just by being there, you can get goose skin. You know, it's very powerful. One of the most incredible places that I have also been to. So even till now, people believe the importance of this site, you know. So that's why Nepal is very special. You know, this Kathmandu Valley is very, very special, very, very powerful. That without this place, Tantric Buddhism would have never spread to Tibet. So then, after completing his activities in Nepal, then Guru Padmasambhava was invited to Tibet. As I mentioned, that this great scholar from Nalanda University, Shantabrakshita, he advised the king to invite Guru Padmasambhava to Tibet. So Guru Padmasambhava arrived in Tibet, and when he started working for the welfare of beings, he also encountered similar problems. He also saw that the local spirits were creating issues. So now, what he did after that was he again utilized his tantric powers to control those energies. So there is a very special story that I will share now, which again is connected with our pilgrimage as well. So it is said that he wanted to create a sacred space for the monastery to be built. So it means that he had to perform geomancy. He had to perform magical rituals to first um, tame the land, because the land was all controlled by these demonic energies. It was basically under their control. So without controlling them, it was not possible to make a monastery, because then they will not let it happen. So then it is said that it was where he performed the sacred tantric dance in all the directions, in four cardinal directions, four intermediate directions, and two other directions. So 10 directions overall. He performed sacred tantric dances to control and pacify these demonic forces of Tibet. So this is how the ritual ceremonies that I shared with you, that we will see in the new year in Nepal, this is the origin of those ritual dances. They're always remembering Guru Padmasambhava's activities in Tibet, what he first did. And similarly, they re-perform those dances to subjugate, to pacify negative energies, and not to let them enter the new year. So that's the origin of such practices. And likewise, Guru Padmasambhava did many other sacred rituals at that time in Tibet, and it is said that he controlled all the demonic forces and he converted them from negative to positive yet again, and he made them into the protectors of the Buddhist teachings. So this is a very special highlight of the Tantric Buddhist path, which is something we don't see in the Theravada or the Mahayana path, wherein the focus is mainly on inner discipline and ritual purity and lots of ethics, lots of discipline, which is also there in the tantric path. But tantric path works more on a mystical way, that it also cares about the external phenomena. It does not exclude the problems that are happening in the outside world, when it comes to the elements. So that's why in Tantra, the five elements, earth, water, fire, wind, so on and so forth, those play a very big role. So the practitioner realizes the five elements inside and also the five elements outside. So they have to be in harmony. So it's even believed that when we get sick, it's also happening because of some disbalance in our elements, in the inner elements and also the outer elements. So with the Tantric Buddhist practices, we are also able to purify the internal elements, the imbalance in the internal elements and the imbalance in the outer elements. So there are different ceremonies, different rituals that are designed especially to purify and pacify such imbalances. But ultimately, when it comes to the Tantric Buddhist path, the goal is indeed enlightenment. So the goal here is recognizing and realizing one's own mind as the Buddha, that all sentient beings have Buddha nature already inside of them. They have the seed inside of them, but because of karma, because of ignorance, they're asleep to that potential. So through tantric practices, what we are trying to do is we are trying to uncover, awaken that wisdom fire that is already inside us, but it's hidden. It's hidden in the deepest corners of our being. So through the practices of mantra, meditation, and different rituals, the main perspective here is to awaken that process. So for this reason, Tantric Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism is said to be the fastest path to enlightenment. But if it's fast, at the same time, it's also not easy and it's also risky. So it's very important to find the right master, to find the right tradition. So it's very important to analyze the teacher. You cannot just go to any random teacher and receive tantric teachings and initiations. It doesn't work. So an important point here is initiation. So unlike in the lower levels of Buddhism, like Theravada or Mahayana, you don't need an initiation to practice those. But when it comes to Tantra, there is a system of initiation, meaning that there are very elaborate rituals that have to be performed by a qualified tantric guru, and then the qualified tantric student who will become a tantric student, they will be given an initiation. So from that time onwards, the student is formally entering the tantric path. So we cannot just, say, oh, I'm a tantric practitioner just like that. No, it doesn't work like that. We have to find a teacher, we have to connect to a tradition, and we have to be given the entrance to that path. So it's a tradition, basically. It's a system, and it's an unbroken lineage from Guru Padmasambhava until now, from him to his disciples, from their disciples to their disciples, until now to our times. So this unbroken chain is very important in Tantra. So this is called the Guru Parampara or the Guru tradition. This is also how we can validate whether a tradition is true or not, because these days there are many people who make some claims that, oh, I'm a guru and I have this teaching, I have that teaching. But how we can understand whether that's really true or not is by analyzing their tradition. Do they have a tradition or not? Who was their guru? Who was their guru's guru? What kind of results do they have in their meditation practices? Like that, we must analyze very carefully. Otherwise, if we just go to any random guru and we believe in what they are saying, it can actually be very dangerous for us, because we should not just play with fire like that. So in the Tantric Buddhist path, lineage, um, the tradition of the gurus is considered extremely important. So every student who wants to be a genuine Tantric practitioner should first connect with the proper lineage, should connect with the proper guru, and then should do investigation to check who was this guru's guru, which tradition they're coming from, which lineage they're coming from, what are their practices, what studies they have done, so on and so forth. And then after they're convinced, they can choose to become a student, right? And then the guru also has all the right to check the student to make sure if the student is even ready or not. And then when all of those things come together, when the guru thinks that the student is ready and the student thinks that the guru is right for them, then that connection is made. And then the practitioner can formally enter the tantric path. So there are systems of initiation. So one, we have to receive an initiation system. After that, we have to receive an oral transmission. So if you want to practice a particular practice, then you need initiation, you need oral transmission, meaning like a permission to chant that particular text, to chant that mantra, to chant that ritual. And then after that, explanation, explanation on how to do the practice. If it's a ritual, what do we need for that ritual? What elements are needed? What are the deeper philosophical and metaphysical meanings of that particular ritual? Because Tantra, when I say it's mystical, I say it because the words in Tantra are in a way self-secret, that we need to have an explanation to understand them. So even if somebody just wants to buy like a tantric text, without the explanation, they anyway can't understand it, because all the words are cryptic. It's like a cipher. So you have to decipher it through the help of a qualified teacher, through their blessings, through their power, through their initiation. Then only we can truly understand what the words mean. So why is that done? Is to save those teachings from wrong people who can misuse those teachings, because Tantra can, of course, give a lot of power, because it involves many aspects of magic, which can help people also on a day-to-day level. So if somebody does not have the right motivation, the person does not want to help others, they don't have compassion, they have an evil mind. So if they get such teachings, they will start misusing it. There is a big possibility of that happening. So because of this reason, the great learned masters of the ancient times until now, they decided to keep these teachings more or less secret, that if the person is not ready, even if they can get a particular book or they discover something, they will still not understand it fully, right? So that's why it's very important to find the right teacher, to find the right tradition, to have a basic understanding of Buddhism. That's exactly why I started from the very basics, because if we don't understand that, Tantra is not going to work. It will just also become like black magic, what people in Tibet used to perform before. So we need to have the right motivation. We need to really understand what the basic teachings of Buddhism are about, what did Shakyamuni Buddha teach, what is compassion, what is, working with emotions. Only when we have understood those things, then we can feel that, okay, maybe now it's time to work with the tantric path. And also in the tantric path, there are different levels. So there is like an outer level, an inner level, and secret level. So on the outer level, um, there are deities like Tara, which is a deity that we will connect with in Nepal. So she is more accessible. In fact, in modern times, many teachers, even like the Dalai Lama and others, they have freely like given those teachings to people, and working with Tara's mantra or Om Mani Padme Hum. This is a very common mantra. It's not a secret mantra. So that's why, like for me, it's more easier to give people these mantras to work with, because they are beginner level practitioners and you don't really need to have initiation to work with these mantras. So first mantra that people can always work with is Om Mani Padme Hum. So Om Mani Padme Hum is the mantra of compassion, is the mantra of a particular Buddha of compassion, Lokeshwara or Chenrezig in Tibetan language. So there are different versions of this mantra. One explanation here that we can understand is that Om Mani Padme Hum comprises of 6 different syllables in the Tibetan language. Om, Ma, Ni, Pe, Me, Hum. So each of these 6 syllables correspond to the 6 levels of existence in samsara, the realm of the gods and the demigods, the realm of the humans, the realm of animals, hell realms, the realm of the hungry ghosts, so on and so forth. So there are altogether 6 realms, which is a topic that I will explain more in depth for advanced courses. It's not the right time here yet. But basically, Buddhism accepts that it's not only the human existence that we have. We are also acknowledging other existences, whether we see them or not, right? So both the visible and the invisible existences are considered. So Om Mani Padme Hum, when we chant that mantra, each syllable is said to benefit each of this existence. Basically, these existences all together make samsara. So it's like a wheel. So it's believed that we, according to our karma, according to our activities, we constantly take birth and rebirth in different realms, in the higher realms or in the lower realms. Higher realms are realms of the gods or realms of the human beings. Lower realms are all connected with suffering, animal realms, spirit realms, hell realms, so on and so forth. So it all depends on our karma. But still, all the 6 are still part of samsara. We are still not free from samsara. So this very powerful mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, is said to benefit each and every realm from beginning till the end. So the practitioner is supposed to work with this mantra and feel deep compassion for all beings. Think about how the beings are suffering in each of this realm and what they can do to benefit them. So this becomes like a mantra meditation. So I will even do a short mantra meditation here to demonstrate how we can work with this energy. So basically, if you can just sit straight and relax your body, settle your mind. You can use some breath work before we begin. Those of you who have already listened to my previous seminars, you might be familiar with the gut exhalations that I already talked about. If not, I can demonstrate it again. So basically, if we are feeling a little lethargic or not very active, we can try to remove the stale energy, the stale wind from our body by contracting our stomach. So basically, we are breathing from our diaphragm and we exhale. We do a sharp exhale like this. So at this time, if you have some familiarity with meditation or yoga, you can even visualize that all stale energy, all negativities, diseases, anything that's bothering you, you are removing from your mouth and it comes out in the form of black light. You can just focus and you can make this meditation even more powerful. So all negative karma, all afflictions are being removed from your system. Now just rest for a few seconds. You can feel a difference in your body. You can feel that your channels, your energies are moving more nicely now. You don't feel much agitation in your body, in your subtle body. Try to find that relaxed state within yourself. You're neither too tight nor too loose. You're somewhere in the middle, balanced. Now, at this moment, just observe. Observe the thoughts, observe the feelings, observe whatever arises, but do not chase anything. Do not follow the thoughts. Do not follow the feelings. Just observe. Once you find that settled, relaxed state inside of yourself, focus on your heart center. And from there, you can feel that light rays, white light, comes from your heart center. Beautiful white light. And it expands and it goes in all directions, everywhere. This is the healing light of compassion. If you know someone who's sick or is going through a difficult time right now, you can also think about them. You can visualize them too. Start from there and slowly expand your visualization and include as many beings as possible. Whether you know them or not, doesn't matter. Think about them. Just like you, all beings desire happiness. To think that how you can offer this genuine happiness, this genuine joy to them. Contemplate on this for a few moments as the white light emanates from your heart center. as you settle into your experience, expanding your awareness of compassion. At this time, now we will incorporate mantra meditation. So we will chant mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, the mantra of compassion. And as you chant this mantra, you can feel that those white light rays with mantra's power are healing all beings, not just your friends, family members, but everyone. Of course, perform this meditation according to your own capacity. You can increase the level of compassion step by step, but feel that by the chanting of the mantra, all realms, they are being purified. The sufferings of all beings is purified. Their genuine happiness is increasing. Their merits, longevity, good qualities, everything is increasing. Now, with the vibration of the mantra's sacred power, along with the visualization of the white light, feel that all beings that you imagined, whether your friends, loved ones, all beings in samsara in general, the mantra heals them. Whatever difficulties they are facing, whatever obstacles they are facing, they have been pacified. The negative karma that they have knowingly or unknowingly committed, which creates suffering, that too has been purified. Whatever they desire, they receive that too. Your own karmic connection with them, if there are any karmic debts, any karmic loans that you have knowingly or unknowingly not paid back to those beings, they also have been paid. So that the connection between you and the beings you thought about, it becomes pure. Afterwards, you dedicate all happiness, all goodness, everything that one desires for oneself. Feel that it's also been received by the others. Especially the ones who are weak, who are crippled, who are physically disadvantaged. They too receive the nectar of this compassionate mantra's blessing, and they too have been purified. In general, think about all different types of beings and feel that through the blessings of the sacred mantra, they all have been blessed. Their negativities have decreased and their positive actions have increased. This is the supreme act of generosity. Without generosity, we cannot genuinely cultivate true compassion for others. And in the end, you can feel that all the beings, as a result, are very happy, they're joyous, all the negative karmas have been pacified, and they ultimately realize their own wisdom essence. Suddenly, you arise from this meditation as if you just woke up from a dream. Buddha said, our life is like an illusion. Life is like a dream. This is something that I've also briefly explained in our introductory. This is that we project our reality. So one of the main reasons of suffering, remember in the first seminar, is when we attach too much to external objects. We attach too much to the seeming reality of it. That's a huge cause of our suffering. So through such meditation practices, if we train ourselves that our projections, our thought processes are like a dream, this helps us in remaining more grounded. This helps us in not fixating too much on our projections, not create this loop in which we continuously run and run and run, and then one day we just fall down. So through such meditation practices, we generate compassion for oneself and for others. And through this vast heart, this compassionate heart that we generate, that ultimately gives rise to the awakening of our own mind as the Buddha, the great compassionate one. This concludes our mantra meditation for today. So, this is a meditation technique that I've created for beginners because, of course, as I said, I cannot give advanced tantric teachings to people who are not ready, who don't have initiations, but mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum or Tara's mantra, they're permissible. We are allowed to work with them. And then the whole point of these meditation techniques is to help people, so I've done a lot of healing through these methods for others, both online and in real. And these will also be some of the methods I'll be using when hopefully the group will come here to Nepal. So you'll also witness these practices in real, in sacred sites with very powerful, incredible ancient energies. So if you have any questions or any of your own thoughts, Alina, it would be good to have them.
It's always so hard to talk after or chanting or time with yourself. You just want to be calm. You just want to be inside yourself. So you're returning me back to the material. Okay. First of all, I just wanted to use the opportunity in this, like the last session, but not the least, in our basic talks about the practices, about the philosophy, about the traditions. And we want to announce that absolutely, if you want, you can go deeper. So you can contact us in our school. All the information is in our YouTube channel. It's about this video. If you want to go deeper, if you want to have the individual path with the teacher, or to be part of the more advanced practices, you can always contact us. I want to use, the opportunity to ask some maybe basic questions, same on this, the perfect first levels. lots of people also, they do not understand. First, we're talking about the monk and the yogi, and you are giving us the description about this difference. Then some people, they ask the question which is like this. Which is the difference, yogi and yoga? What is yoga and what is a yoga teacher and the yogi? So I don't want to be a person who is not the owner of the knowledge, and I want to use the opportunity for a mass of the people who will be watching the YouTube and get more understanding about it.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So yoga has not only been used in the Hindu context. So if you look at the ancient history, so in fact, there is even a particular tradition of Buddhism called Yogachara, the conduct of the yoga. It's a part of Buddhism, but people are not aware of it. Because what happened was that in recent times, especially, I think, if I'm not mistaken, all the Eastern practices, especially yoga, they got very popular after the 60s when the hippies, right, they came to India, Nepal, and they discovered these teachings, the times of the Beatles, you know. So then people discovered this aspect, and then they thought this is what it really means, right? And at that time, not many people, especially people who did not connect with Buddhism, they did not know that the term yoga is not exclusive to Hinduism, right? These days, when people think about yoga, they immediately think about Hatha yoga or Raja yoga, whatever, right? Which basically come from the Hindu tradition. They don't associate this word with Buddhism. It's because of lack of information, right? So in Buddhism, the term yoga has been used since ancient times. So the point here is there are different types of explanation when we talk about the term yoga or yogi in the Buddhist context. So even the meditation that we just did, that's also a yoga. It means it's more of the inner yoga. It's about, so the term yoga itself can be understood as uniting with your own divine essence, right? So it's not just physical postures. The physical postures are called asana. That's different. Sometimes people confuse between asana and yoga. Asana is physical posture. Yoga is a much broader term. You know, it refers to this inner mystical union, depending on the tradition you're working with, right? If you're working with the Hindu tradition, it's like uniting with the Brahman, Atman and Brahman. In Buddhism, there is no Atman and Brahman, but it's more about uniting with your own essence, who you truly are, your own Buddha nature. So that's what the term yoga means. So a yogi basically will be a meditator, someone who contemplates this truth, inner truth. It's not necessarily external. As I said before, the difference between a monk and a yogi, that the yogi, male or female, is someone who ideally works with the internal world. It doesn't mean that they exclude the external. I've already demonstrated that example through Guru Padmasambhava's life, that it doesn't mean that we exclude, we forget about the outside world, but we believe that by working with the inner world, naturally we work with the outer world as well, because the outer world is also a projection of the inner world. So the more we cultivate the yoga of wisdom, through such meditation practices that I've introduced in the previous lessons, to the calm abiding, just staying in the nature of the mind, just observing the mind, observing your thoughts, observing your emotions, your feeling, that's also a yoga. So then you become a yogi of that particular practice. When you work with mantra, like we did right now, when you have this focus on the light rays, on the mantra chanting, you are focusing on healing the beings, that's also yoga. Basically, you are in union with your own higher consciousness at that time. So that's the difference between um, what people typically understand as yoga versus the deeper meaning of it. Now, in the Tantric Buddhist path, there are also physical yogas too, but they are at a very advanced level, and typically we cannot talk about them for a general crowd, but they work with the internal subtle energies. So we have physical yogas as well, but they come at a very advanced level. So there is more of the internal meditation yoga, and there's also physical yogic practices. They're both there.
Mhm. Also, I want to ask like the simple questions once again that people usually ask, and same our students when we're talking about the Tantric Buddhism or Tantra, the word, what means the word, like from the beginning, because they hear it and they do not understand the description. Can we also go through?
Good question. So the word Tantra is Sanskrit. So it basically means a continuum, like a continuum. So continuum of what? According to Tantric Buddhism, this continuum is the continuum of our own wisdom mind. So it's like a weave, spun. Mm. There are different analogies for it, but the continuum is more easier to understand. So the word Tantra is translated to Tibetan as Gyu, which basically means the same. Like the continuum of our own wisdom mind that has never so basically, it's like it's inherent inside of us, but we fail to see it. We fail to recognize it. So through Tantra, that word itself, we are accepting the continuum of this wisdom mind that pervades us, pervades me, pervades you, all sentient beings.
Sometimes
That's
we
the meaning
hear
of Tantra.
like the tantric or the tantra, it's like also a knowledge, also a certain wisdom that
I was only explaining the meaning of the word, and as you said correctly, then it's a tradition. So when we say Tantra, it's both this continuum and it refers to a particular tradition, a set of practices, a set of lineages, right? So that's also true.
I have a question from one of our students. She was not here today, but she asked me to ask this question. To
Mhm.
translate it. She wanted to understand why Tantra became so much sexualized for 2 days, about like this practice between men and women, that all these tantric sexual practices, that all these connections, why it become like this, because she understands tantra in another way, and she is watching 21st century the practitioners that use it for energy sexual between men and women and all this. Why it become like this, which is the truth in all this, how she can understand more in this point.
I get this question all the time, so I have no problem in explaining this. No.
I
So
have the I
unfortunately,
have answer.
yeah. So this unfortunately started because of Osho. Osho is the culprit. So Osho was this Indian master, and from what I understand, he was genuine in the beginning. He had a proper tradition, he had gurus, he was knowledgeable. But somehow, like, he started creating his own system. And again, he was active at the time where, the Westerners, especially people from America, who were coming from a very rigid Orthodox system, right? Christianity that was telling them not to do this, not to have sex before marriage, very controlling. So he just told them, like basically just be free. It's about freedom and just enjoy your sexual liberty. So this is how the whole word tantra became confused with some kind of like sexual awakening. Now, I have nothing against people who want to have a healthy understanding of sexuality. It's important, right? I mean, this is also why people get into trouble, because if they don't have good understanding of their own sexual energies, that's also why sometimes people commit negative actions. They can harm themselves or they can harm others. So I'm totally in favor of people who want to really understand and experience the psychology of sexuality. But is that Tantra? That's a different question. So this is a mistake that happened from Osho's time when he confused Tantra with such practices that just be free, do whatever you want. So it was basically like he was encouraging those hippies to just, do whatever they want, right? And that's when the whole idea of sexuality, like overly, was connected with Tantra. So that's why it should be called as Neo Tantra. Osho's tradition and people who are following that is not traditional Tantra, it's Neo Tantra or New Tantra. So they don't really have a tradition, they don't have a system that they work with. It's all about their free flow, whatever they want. And they overemphasize on this connection between, the sexual organs, right? So that's the problem. And it's not part of traditional Tantra.
So
Traditional Tantra sees,
can we say
yeah,
that somehow uh, there is the knowledge, like traditional knowledge. Then some people, because each human in this life has his own understanding, his own feeling, his own practices, and in somehow each of us can understand or feel as a yogi, I think, or the practice or the mantra or the influence in a certain way. So can we say that in a somehow some people took the tradition that was and make their personal idea about it, that it could help or to work on this path, because we see it everywhere, like where people are talking about all this tantric connection. But I also think that there is also something traditional in the practice. I mean, for example, when we're talking about the male and the female energies, in this
yeah.
case, where we can talk about the tantra, but it's a bit another way. Can we, in just advanced level, say some words to give people idea in order not confuse them that it's totally not true? Because I understand it's also there is the true in all the practices.
Yes, so that is a good point. And indeed, in traditional Tantra, there is, of course, the aspect of the male and female, and this is the yogic path, the tantric path, which I am following. That's why I said that yogis, we are allowed to marry, or, we can have a partner, but it's not for ordinary reasons that, yogic practitioners, whether a male like me or a female, if they will connect with another practitioner of the opposite sex, they should work with those energies together in order to like enhance their own higher consciousness to benefit themselves and other beings. So the purpose has to be higher. So it should not only be based on ordinary desire. So the point is that Tantra accepts that we have desire, but how can we transform this desire into something good for humanity? That's the difference between traditional tantra and these kind of tantric workshops, which is, as I said, like I've uh, investigated those things because I've many people who come to me and ask me those questions, and what I understand, they are more like workshops on intimacy, on how partners can develop intimacy with each other, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But is it tantra? Is that a mystical practice? That's a big question, because that's not what Tantra says. Main traditional Tantra is not concerned just about the intimacy between partners. It's more to do with, the combined energy for a higher purpose, for a higher goal, not selfish reasons. How, let's say, a male yogi, a lama, how he can benefit his female consort and how the female consort can benefit the lama. They help each other first, and then through their combined essence, they bring this benefit to those people who are connected with them, their students, the society, the world. That's the bigger purpose. So in Buddhist Tantra, this combination of male and female energy together is always for the benefit of all beings. It's not for selfish reasons, it's for a bigger purpose. So it's much less to do with physical intimacy. It's more to do with being intimate with our own wisdom energy, which is a much more higher, not to be stuck in the lower chakra, but to elevate the energy to your heart and, of course, to your crown, to expand that energy, expand that consciousness. And these kind of practices, of course, without having a tradition, without having an experienced person, it's very hard, you know. So you cannot just invent something on your own and think you can do it, because there's like a whole system behind this. Because as you can understand, it can be tricky, it can be dangerous, right? And people can misuse these energies to harm women, especially as we know there's a lot of abuse in spiritual communities, and mostly women are the victim of that, right? I mean, there's so many stories that we hear across the world, across traditions. So why those things happen? When people don't know how to work with a particular system, or they're not ready with it, or they want to just satisfy their own lust and their own desire, and they want to just pretend that they're helping someone, but basically they're harming them, right? This is also where it's my advice to women also to be like very careful when they engage with, practitioners or people who want to make such promises that, I will give you some power, or I will do this, or I'll do that, you know, be very careful. I'm sharing this because I know a lot of such stories, a lot of women have come to me in person and private, and it's a sad truth actually that it's happening. Many women have been harmed by such practices. So just wanted to give it.
Just to add,
Not
in this sphere that you are talking about, the Tantra, the real Tantra, that I will also give my feeling, how I feel it, and the question of our student about the today's, because there is really two different paths. There is a lot of practices, for now it's true, that are just about the intimacy, like about the ego. What does it mean when Padma is talking about the chakras? Because not everyone know, I will just give a small explanation. When we're talking about the first chakra, like the basic chakra, it means that we are living the life, like the first 2-3 chakras, we're living the life in the basic instincts, like in basic instincts. In any case, we have as a human these desires. It belongs to everything, not only the intimacy about the material world, about something like the ego. So it's all about me, myself, my desires. I want it to myself. I want to feel more. I want to get more emotions, feelings, doesn't matter. When we're going up, it's a different type of the purpose of the life. You want to feel different type of the humanity, the world. So now listening to you, I can also give the advice if the people they don't know, for example, or they are attracted, like they feel somehow they're attracted to the tantra or to such practices. Just watch through the master or through the practices, which is the main goal. So this is something that is our continuity in all these 3 sessions, which is the main goal of the master who is doing it. For example, if like big words are write down, like we help you with the partner, with the man, with the woman, for the intimacy, to get more this how to say, not desires, like to have this satisfaction, let's say like this, like for the ego, it means nothing with the real tantra that we could discuss with the Padma now. This is about your ego, how in this material world you can improve with another sex, like male or female, in this path, like, because basically in what they're giving, it's not bad. It's about not just animal how to say, reactions for each other. It's about sitting, feeling, giving time, like also a bit different process. So there is nothing bad basically in this. But once again, the goal, the real tantra, for me personally, I can be wrong. This is something that how I feel. It was talking the Padma, for example. If I am, in any case, I practice somehow, I'm working with my spirit, I'm working with my higher self, I want to feel myself as not only the human, as the energies. I understand that everything is my body is connected, that all these practices, like what we are doing through myself. And then, for example, in each of us, it doesn't matter male or female, we have both energies. So I have both energies, male and female. Padma also has both energies, like men and women, both. If we're talking the an energetic field, so there is a certain advised percentage when you're in your main energies. For example, while for today there's lots of questions when men's see in women men's. Why women, they are not women's? Let's be honest. It means that the women choose to be more in the man's energies because she decided to be best in the work. She is not in her nature energy. She need to be like as her, help me, as her nature, I don't know, as her inner self. So when we're talking about the Tantra, we first talk about when women is a woman, is in women energies, and when the man is the man energies, because we're not meeting by the accident. The karma, it's something that is playing with us all the time. What does it mean? If I met this man or this woman, I should met this man and this woman. Basically, our partner, which is another sex, it's someone who can help us if we have this goal to improve your higher self, because you have both, and your partner as opposite energy is showing your man's energy, for example, for me, and your women, for example, Padma shows your women energy inside you, like in which level it is, how is he or she connected with her higher self. So it's another type of the connection when we can talk about the Tantra. So you were telling that this is the possibility when you are in the opposite, men and women, to help each other improve yourself or your higher self better through connection together. So in this world, people just taking one word as, for example, sex as a process and having, but in the end, this is the Tantra. No, it's the purpose of the connection between people in this world that you can feel much more. So this is a different type. So I also try to warn people, especially really the women's, about the tantric practice, especially ladies. If you're going to the tantric practice, where is the man as a master, my advice is not to go, because the man is receiving the women energy. If you go to the tantric practice, where is the man teaching you how to practice with your man, or you have to come with your man and to give this energy, as we're talking about the Tantra, between both of you already. But if you don't have your partner here in energy type, you give your energy to the man master. So this is not the right way to do. It's all about the goals. It's even better to go if you want to understand just the simple ways about the Tantra, like to see, to feel a partner. Do it with the women at least, because you are in the same energy types and you will not lose your energy and give it to the man in this case. Because Padma, can you also comment what I'm telling? Because you can do it more properly, even with my English, I think.
Well, your points are very valid. And what I want to add here is that as I already mentioned about these kind of people, these kind of men, basically who are trying to, I'm not saying everybody is like that, but I hear a lot of stories, so I cannot ignore this whatsoever, that a lot of such men, they are predators, actually. They want to suck energy from people, right? That's not the point. And that also demonstrates that these people, they are not ready to do what they are doing. Because the point of such is to unblock the energies, not to uniting with the woman. The purpose should be, okay, help the woman really unblock energy instead of being like a vampire and that energy to you, right? So that's why proper practices without first having energies inside, without working with energies inside, nobody can do this. That's the truth. Nobody. They can keep saying whatever they want, master and this thing and that, but no, it doesn't work because your sexual energy is also connected with your chakras, your internal subtle level energy. And if your own subtle level energy is impure, if it's not pure, if it's not clean, right? How can you heal someone else? It's impossible. You can't. And this is what happens. Like all the stories I hear, and the women who get trapped in such situations, this is what happens. Like a man promises things, but ultimately they just steal the woman's energy for their own negative purpose. And then the woman is traumatized, or she goes in depression, or she has this problem or that problem. So yeah, I think we can really try to educate people through this platform that please, women, please try to be safe. Don't believe in such things so easily. And as Polina said, if you really want to work on your intimacy, if you really want to connect with your own inner feminine, and if there is no traditional method available, at least go to a woman. Be safe. Don't just go to a man who has no tradition, no experience in meditation, no energy work. Don't trust such people, please, because if they haven't even worked with their own ego, as you said very correctly, that all of these things are happening to satisfy one's ego. But the whole point is no, you're trying to actually be selfless. You're trying to help someone. You're trying to help them, and you need to have so much level of control inside to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's just an act of lust, it's just an act of desire, and you just take their energy with it. And the last thing I will share here is that many people are even trying to be like, they do these things because they are like sorcerers, right? They may not tell you that, but they want to steal your energy for their own higher magical practices. And I've also seen such things in my life. I've known women who got stuck in such situation when they got stuck with a magician, and they were just using and extracting their energy to become more powerful. And then the woman was completely depleted and like zero.
After your comment,
She was bright.
I feel some information also I want to talk about. Why women's are interested in such practices, like which is their question. Usually the question is about, for example, relationships, right? Men or women, like to improve the relationship they have, or because everything is already dull, or everything is not in the feeling they still have, because time is going, it's normal, the hormones, everything, like when you're living together 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So the main goal, I think, it's just the idea to improve the actual relationships, or to improve themselves, to be the best version of themselves for someone. This is also the second reason that especially women's, or some men, but basically women's, are not realizing that the question is not about improve myself in some techniques to be the tantric women master in the intimacy with the partner. It's not about this. If you are, for example, if your questions, goals are, I want to know more and improve, let's be honest, my satisfaction in the sex, because we're 18 plus here, go to the therapists, how it's named, the sexual therapists who are working with it. It's the science,
Right.
it's the knowledge, it's the professional. He will help you also with your psychological question. He will help you to understand the biological and anatomy and all these processes. So go to the specialist in this question. If your question is about the relationships, because I feel not good, I feel that maybe something is wrong, like your imagination and all this, go to the psychotherapist, go to someone who can help you with the question with your head, first of all. Why I feel like this? Why my question is like this? If you want to if you are in practices, if you understand what we are talking about, if you understand what is your higher self, what is energy, what is chakras, what is all this stuff at least, and you have your partner, your husband or your wife who is also maybe in the practices, and you want to improve through each other, you can find or master, or first of all, my recommendation, find the book, the knowledge, find the knowledge and start to practice at your home with your family inside, not with the someone from outside. So first of all, try to understand the goal and go to the science, to the normal knowledge, like not using any spiritual things, because if you don't know, you sometimes can harm yourself not knowing what you are doing. For same is for the chanting and mantras. For example, if you totally do not understand what is chanting, what is mantra, for which is this mantra, and someone is telling you, can you read this mantra for me? Someone, he can also use your energy. He can also use your wealth, your health, just because you don't know. So all people who are going to watch us, if you're interested in the path, if you're interested in someone, really, first of all, feel free to put comments here, or us as a school or Padma, we can reply here for your questions, for a question of your path, for a question where to find master, maybe our recommendation of the master. It doesn't matter where, because now we're in the online world. For example, you can have the consultation, you can discuss with it. We are here not to sell the practices. We are here to give the knowledge we have, and just to, how to say, to trying to give it to you, and then you are giving it somewhere further inside your own world, and etc. So this is also, I think, the good question. Thank you, Irina, for the question, and thank you that we had the chance to discuss it. I think it's really important thing, because people do not understand some things and they are doing it. They do not understand why it doesn't work. Moreover, the families are ruined because someone from the women energy is going to the master of the practices, and then he return back home. This is the process. Man lives on the women in energy. If he has, it's important. That's why you're connected. The same as the women is living on her man's energy. But in the end, if you're coming without the energy, giving it to someone else, not knowing, then somehow your second person could not feel you in this relationship, you in this family, because you're exhausted. You are here as a human, but you are not here as an energy. So lots of problems in the families. It's not about that you have a wrong person. It's not about that after 10 years I don't love my partner. It's not about this. It's sometimes about, first of all, that you don't have a knowledge how to love yourself, how to fulfill yourself, how to return back your energy. And in this case, when you are loving yourself, when you can smile, dance, I don't know, trying to have something new in your life, you are the main person in your life. Your partner is watching someone's who is loving the life he's living, and he also want to attend. He has the questions, so it starts the connection process. If you are exhausted, if you don't care about yourself, if you don't love yourself, it's psychology, it's all the imagination, all this question that we were also discussing before. If you are choosing to suffer, so you are exhausted for yourself and for the people who are around you, and it also causes some human problems they think it is. So if you are interested in more advanced or consultations or something, you can, once again, you can contact us, and we can have it like together with you in order you not to go to the wrong path. So what else we want to announce? I think that for now we are finishing these three seminars. We want to announce that we are going to plan, if we will have the group, if you're interested, the online group, for a few direction. The first direction, we're going to prepare, maybe I think it will be next year, prepare the more advanced course, and could people who are interested more, who could go to the more of the knowledge. Then we're also preparing the course for the mantras and for all this knowledge about the mantras. It's very interesting because this is something that could help you, like your skills, like your tools at home, to help you with the different spheres of life, understanding how it works, having the knowledge to have it. And we also will announce, I think, the 2 groups for or chanting this year or for the meditation. So if you are interested, just follow us here, just follow us in the Instagram, and you will find when we are going to announce it, when it will be. And for sure, we are inviting you to go with us to Nepal and to get something that no one of you will see here and nowhere, even if we will show it, because it's impossible. And your own spiritual pets, it's impossible to show. You can just feel it. So thank you all. Padma, our last words, and we will finish this amazing 2 hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alina. Well, you summarized everything quite perfectly, so I don't have much more to add. I'll just once again finish on this note that just be very careful on your spiritual path. Do not believe just anyone randomly. And it's very important to investigate and examine. If, let's say, if you choose to go to a teacher, no matter which tradition it is, please always investigate their background. Please check where they're coming from. Please check if they're authentic or not. Make some connection before taking like a very deep direction. It's to protect yourself. So that's how I would like to end it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all in Nepal, and also quite excited to work on the advanced course next year. So thank you so much, and have an amazing evening ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you. Bye for now.
Bye.